Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rig It with a Coach on Monday. Brandon, are you doing good today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Doing wonderful. So before we get started today, I've got a special guest coming on here in just a little bit. I do want to talk about some things that everyone needs to know about. All right, on the internet, in conjunction with Black Friday, we still have some Black Friday sales that are running. You can go to bigbitebaits.com and take a look at those. Also, we have a Cyber Monday special today where they can get 30% off of a gift card for Christmas. Make a good Christmas present, and you have to use a special code when you go in on the site to be able to do that. And I believe I'm not wrong, it's CM30.
That's correct.
So that's all you got to do is go in and purchase and use the code and sign up. And so you can buy a Big Bite gift card. Now, what's the denominations on those gift cards? Can it be as much as you want it to be, or is that a $20 or $30 deal? Do you know? So that they'll know, or can they do a 50 or 100 or whatever?
Doesn't seem to be any restrictions.
No restrictions. Okay, so something to check in on anyway. But yeah, definitely check out the Black Friday sales that are still pending, and then of course, obviously the Cyber Monday sale. Something I wanted to mention to everybody today: we've got a new hat. We've been talking about this hat for several months, and it hadn't come in. We had some logistics problems with the manufacturer, but anyway, we finally got it in. It's a really nice looking hat. It's like an olive green with the tan back, and it's got a light leather Big Bite patch on the front of it. It's a very nice hat. It's made on a Pacific hat. I don't know, it's on an OC, Outdoor Cap Company, and it's a very nice looking hat. It's very, I think it's just really clean. $24.99 if I'm not mistaken on the website. It's there now, so you can purchase that. That would be a nice Christmas gift for someone for sure. Okay. Today I've got Garrett Paquette going to join me. Garrett, you with me?
I am, Les. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm, kind of having that post-Thanksgiving hangover and kind of getting depressed because I think tomorrow is going to be the last day I get to go fishing for the year before our lakes freeze. But that's what happens when you live in Michigan.
I guess so, but if you're like me, you ate so much Thanksgiving you can't hardly move, so that's not good either. But anyway, it's good to talk to you. Good to hear your voice for sure. I believe you're going to talk to us a little bit about some Alabama rig fishing today. I know we've talked a bunch about that here in Alabama, and we've kind of been talking about fall patterns, and one of the ways that you can target finding fish was with an Alabama rig using our different swim baits. And I believe you're going to elaborate a little bit to us today about some of the things that you'd like to do with that. And we can't wait to hear what you got to say. So I'm going to turn it over and let you talk about it, and then we'll kind of ask you questions as we go.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect timing, too. So I actually just caught the biggest smallmouth of my life. 6 pounds, 12 ounces, like,
oh, wow.
I don't know, 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago on an Alabama rig. And, those of you that follow me, you know how much I love the Pro Swimmer by itself or on an Alabama rig, and specifically this color here. This is G-Pack Money. I don't know if we'll get, I guess it'll get decent quality there, but you can see it's really a natural shad color with a little bit of chartreuse flake in there. And I made that color simply. Yeah, you got one too there. Simply this color I made because as a
color you developed, and it's a really good color. Even down this way, it's a great color.
Yeah, the idea behind it was when we're traveling around the country, I'm trying to find fish, locate fish. I don't really want to think about what color I'm going to throw, so I took what I thought were really good attributes in a swim bait and tried to put them all in one. So you got a little bit of chartreuse flake in there. You got something that's natural, translucent, kind of has that gray, shaddish back. So if you're in a situation where you're just like, I don't know what color to throw, this one should, get the job done, or at least start getting bites for you. And, one thing I like about the Pro Swimmer, and we've really put this to test here up on St. Clair, is like I'll put up, I'm going to hold up. These are both 2.8-inch size baits. This is a really popular model. A lot of guys throw this. But when you look at them side by side here, you can see that Pro Swimmer here has a little bit more beef on the head, and then the tail is also, I don't want to say twice as big, but maybe 50% larger. And a lot of times when you're swim bait fishing, it's all about what they call draw power, how far you can get the fish to swim, or how far you can get the fish to notice the bait and then that's to swim over and bite it. And we've noticed just having a little bigger profile versus the standard baits on the market, we're getting a lot more bites like this. I know Dennis Montgomery came down on St. Clair this spring, and we really wanted to go side by side versus some of the other baits, and we were I was actually really pleasantly surprised how well our 2.8-inch did, and it we were out catching a lot of the baits 2 and 3 to 1. So I think having that bigger profile is a really cool important deal just in general. I mean, maybe if the water's super clear, it doesn't matter, but usually in bass fishing, we got some stain in the water. The fish are going to use their lateral line. So having just a little more meat on that plastic, I think gets you some more bites. But to turn it over.
Question is, does that thickness allow you to slow that bait down a little bit as well?
Yeah, it definitely slows it down. So if you were to, yeah, whatever, there are times like, let's say an 1/8 ounce jig head, gets to the bottom and stays on the bottom, versus the skinnier bait, you might have to bump it to like a 3/60. Like that is something to be aware of. But on the flip side, having more plastic, allows the bait to not be overpowered. So if I want to go to a 3/8 ounce jig head, it's not the jig head. A lot of times on the smaller swimbaits just pulls the bait through and the tail won't work. Having a little more plastic, the bait still has action with the heavier weights if you want to go and do that. So all around, I mean, I love how you guys have kind of slightly modified the I don't know what to say, the average size of these finesse swim baits. So
Correct.
We're really happy with that. But yeah, so to turn it over, we'll talk about this guy here, the Alabama rig. Something I like doing. Obviously, we can't do it on tour since it's banned, but there is probably this time of year in the fall, once the fish start chasing bait fish and the water starts cooling, it's probably the most powerful tool you can have in those situations. And it's just, I mean, you get 5 baits on there. It's really natural. It's presenting a schooling bait fish situation, and the fish come from a long way to bite it. And this is exactly how I set mine up 90% of the time when smallmouth fishing. Is I have one, I don't know, you don't really get a view of the size. I guess I'll hold up a package here. This isn't a really big rig, you can see. This isn't like 9 or 10 inches wide. This thing's, I think the arms on it might be 4 inches. This one's made by Shane's Baits. And I'll throw like a Flash Mob Junior, which any of the ones that are like $14-15 I like. But as long as they're compact, I like that compact size. And I'll dress it with all 2.8-inch pro swimmers. And you'll notice here, yep, usually all 2.8s. Every now and then, if the water is dirty or if I'm around largemouth, maybe I'll have a 3.3 or even a 3.8 on the last one. But I really like the all 2.8-inch size. And then you'll notice what I think is key to it is having an oddball. Like I said, I'll either put a bigger bait here, but most of the time I'll just stick with a 2.8 and I will put some red or chartreuse on that bait, whether it's the head or the tail. I haven't noticed it to matter, but I'm almost thinking that the red is better than chartreuse. But have one that's just an oddball, something that the fish can key on if they're following this bait, make it look wounded, make it look different. And probably 75% of your bites will come on that bait itself. That's a really important deal.
I was going to ask you that question because we call that a teaser. We put that in the middle.
Okay.
Like we're running shad ones, we'll have a citrus shad one in the middle. Something will draw a look. So you basically do the same thing there. I think that's pretty neat. Exactly.
Yep. And it's I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. Like there's so much commotion going in the water. You're jerking this thing and ripping it, but they find that oddball more times than not. So that tells me that it's definitely something that you want to have on your rig.
I agree.
But so yeah, as far as fishing it,
like
up north
with thrower or like a solid red one. Have you tried something like that before?
A solid red? I haven't gone solid red. I've gone solid chartreuse on these on clear baits.
Right.
And it works. I just think, I mean, where I live, we can see down 10, 15 feet. So I don't really need that much of a contrast. Just this red dot here seems to be enough to get them. But like if you're down south and you're throwing all white baits, maybe that's a situation where you can go to a hard chartreuse one or something like that. Just make sure you're contrasting, but keep it somewhat natural. Don't throw like bright pink on there. You still want them to think it's bait fish or it's what they're going to eat.
Totally. And you always like to have the blades on yours, or do you like to have one without blades sometimes?
So if there are shad in the system or minnows, shiner, stuff like that, I do like the blades. Like I was throwing this one here on Lake St. Clair. A lot of shad migrate into Lake St. Clair in the fall, so I will throw this. But when I go up, or I will throw the blades. Now, when I go up north to some of our lakes that don't have shad, they mostly just have really the forages like crayfish, goby, stuff like that. I have noticed that the rigs with the blades almost seems to kind of put the fish off. There's like too much flash. So
Yeah.
I will take the blades off in that situation and just go with baits.
Okay.
But if they're shad, blades are key.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, that's very interesting. Now, what type of head do you like to use on that rig up there? A little bit about that, if you would, please.
Yeah, so this is actually this one that I have on here is just one that my buddy poured. Just something I like 3/16 ounce weights usually, or like three 3/16s and 2/8, something like that. But just something just small with a real strong stout hook, or a hook that fits your setup. So like me personally, I like throwing out like a 7/8 heavy rod, something you throw like a 1 ounce swim bait on with a 20 pound fluorocarbon. So I have a pretty strong system there, a really powerful rod. So you would need to almost need to bump up your hooks from what you would like traditionally throw a single swim bait on a spinning rod. So I do have a little bit of a smaller, stouter hook than I would normally throw, but with all those wires and the blades and stuff, that the hook size doesn't seem to be like a turn off to the fish. Whereas if you're throwing it on 10 pound,
that makes perfect sense for sure.
Is there a way that you figured out some things that maybe you've learned Alabama rig fishing in the fall, especially, that you feel like have translated to your tournament fishing?
things that I've learned, yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing is so there's an awkward phase in fishing, right? When the water starts to cool. For here, it's like when the water gets into the 60s,
Right.
the fish kind of leave their summertime area. They suspend. They get tough to catch. And really, I think before the Alabama rig, us as anglers, we just figure out they don't bite this time of year. They're really hard to find. But the Alabama rig kind of opened our eyes that those fish are still out there. They're just, they're moving to the backs of the creeks or into those flats, and they're just suspended a little bit. So like where you would throw a jig or something or a shaky head like in the summer and still fish real slow, you're not covering enough water to get it in front of enough of those fish. And I think that this Alabama rig kind of opened my eyes that, yeah, it gets tougher. Yeah, it's harder to find them, but if you actually just kind of fish fast, even though we can't throw an Alabama rig, of course I'd go to like a single swim bait, but really just, power fish in those situations and cover the water that you can still get your bites to have a successful day. Whereas I think a couple of years ago, we just thought, we're going to go out there and only catch 2 fish because the whole lake, there's nothing biting. But it's not necessarily the case.
It's kind
So
of
it showed me that. And then it's just, it's almost opened my eyes in a way, and this isn't really going to say like how to catch fish, but even a rig like that's this powerful when it first came out, guys just thought it was going to win every tournament, and it wasn't. That's why we banned it essentially. We just thought it was, it's going to ruin the industry. It's this good. You still have to put this thing in the right areas under the right conditions to catch fish. It's not, and it opened my eyes like, hey, there is no magic bait in fishing. These fish get smart, they get conditioned fast, and you have to do the right things at the right time to catch fish. And when you can't get bit on this thing, it shows you that, there is no bait that's just magic out there. Yeah, you have to constantly be thinking to put yourself in the right position at the right time to catching fish.
Instead of catching.
Exactly.
Definitely. For sure.
Is there any of the single swim baits that you've used in your open schedule or anything like that maybe have had a play in addition to the pro swimmer?
Yeah, definitely. And here's one right here. This is new. I think we came up with it this spring. It's called the Hybrid Swimmer.
Okay.
Looks very similar to your average paddle tail swim bait, but when you actually get up close, and I'll hold up. This is a 3.8-inch bait now. This is a 3.8-inch pro swimmer. If you look at them close, you can see that thing is about half as thin, I'd say. Mm-hmm. You get to the tail here. The tail's a little more squared. It's smaller. It actually has like kind of a little cut design there. But it's a completely different bait in the water. So your average paddle tail, most of you guys have thrown it, just kind of has a slow, lazy wag, I guess you could say. Right. This thing has a snaking action. Instead of having the one segment, it almost bends like 2 or 3 times, and it really snakes in the water, and doesn't produce as much vibration, I'd say, or at least as much a big vibration. It's just a really tight wiggle. And a perfect story is I was at Hartwell this September, We're fishing for those spotted bass. They're all eating herring, and they're super aggressive, but a very smart fish that's keying in on to only that herring. And I would see them suspend out there, and I'm throwing the pro swimmer at them and catching some, but you could just see a lot of the fish, especially with forward sonar now. You see a lot of the fish come up, follow your bait, turn away, follow your bait, turn away. And I just kind of felt like something wasn't right with my bait. And I remember I was texting Brandon, and I was like, dude, I don't know if you can do it, but you need to get me some of these hybrid swimmers to this tournament overnight if you can. Like, I think this is kind of a bait that is going to work in the situation. He got them to me, and I put that thing on there. Never use it in practice. Of course, I left him at home, but put it on there in the tournament day one, and it was like a completely new lake. I mean, the areas where they were following my pro swimmer, I threw this guy out there, and they were committing to it way better. And I think it's because the herring that that those fish were chasing, they don't really have much action. They just, if you ever seen a herring going through the water, it's a really tight wiggle. You know, it almost looks like they're moving in a straight line. And I think that swim bait with the more wiggle instead of the wider wag, I guess we'll say, or the wider action, I think that made a difference, and it showed those fish a more herring-like look. So that was a really cool thing to see, and definitely something I'll always remember when I get in those herring lakes. And I did take it home, and I started to throw it for these smallmouth, and we caught a bunch of fish on it too. I haven't really dialed in yet, which situation it's the best in, but I do know it works well.
Let me ask you this question, Garrett. Do you think there's a direct correlation between the forward-facing sonar and that particular bait? I know that bait was kind of designed to use with, forward-facing sonar where you can actually see the target that you're throwing at. Do you feel like that's something that's, is there a relationship there?
Yeah. Well, I think the overall action, right? So this takes very little movement to get the tail kicking and stuff. And I think that's when you're in your forward sonar situation where you're really pitching a bait to a fish, and you almost want the bait just to slowly move by. I mean, you're not necessarily reeling it as fast as you normally would. And I think that's where having a bait with this that takes very little resistance or water resistance or weight for the jig head to get it moving, that's where that's going to be key. I think in that situation, it was a herring thing, or the presentation was. But yeah, this is that's what I mean. I'm really excited. I have to say I haven't used it a ton yet, but wow. Yeah, those forward sonar situations. Like I got the jig head here that I like it with. Mm-hmm. This is the pendulate, also forward facing sonar.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Design there. You can see it's got you got the big eye here, which I really like when I'm throwing a single swim bait. Mm-hmm. And then you got a swiveling or a swivel in there. You got that cool, sickle style hook that really seems to pin them. But yeah, I think you pair those up and you can almost float that thing in their face for as long as you want, or you can work it vertically or real slow. So yeah, I'm definitely not going to leave these at home for any more tournaments. I'm going to be taking these things for every tournament. And
if you haven't overnight them till you get, if you did. Sure. And while we're talking about that particular jig head, I do want to kind of kick in there and say this is a bait that we manufacture that you buy from Big Bite also as well. Yeah. You can see them online and as well in the catalog too.
Yeah, and one thing that's cool, like I like throwing a heavy jig head sometimes. Right. And we got this is a 3/8 ounce head. It's really hard to find a heavy jig head with a small hook that you can throw on some of these smaller baits. But if you guys are looking for a real heavy small hook jig head or smaller hook, the pendulate does come in that too, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds really good. All right. Well, I know that you got a busy schedule ahead of you next year. I believe are you fishing all 9 of the opens? Is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing all 9 again, and I'm looking forward to it.
Your first one is here in Alabama?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking. I haven't been there since 2020. Yeah, 2020. We were there in June, and it was one of the best lakes I feel like I've ever been to. And I know things have changed, but in March when we're going to be there, it should be fireworks.
We'll look forward to seeing you for sure. I know you'll be down. We'll get to visit with you a little bit, all that good stuff, and definitely y'all have a good time here. Things will be good. That's a good time to play.
What I know, one thing that we always like to ask you guys that everybody wants to know is maybe just a few baits that you've used over the course of the year you know, in your open schedule, or, you know, maybe other tournaments that you fish that you feel like make a difference? I know the swim baits are obviously a big player, but maybe some other things you can throw in there here at the end.
Yeah. You know, I'm a swim bait guy. Obviously, the swim baits, we kind of rolled through that.
Right.
The new Somali or Somali or Somali, however you want to say it, that for me is unbelievable. We have the new scented drop shot baits
Right.
with smallmouth in mind, little compact bait. I've just destroyed them here at home on St. Clair. We haven't really had a smallmouth tournament that I've been able to take it to, but I know next year we're going to the St. Lawrence, and that'll probably be all I throw there. That's a really good one. And
Yeah,
then
guys did real good on that Somali up there this last year when they were there.
yeah, that bait has been phenomenal. And then I really like the cliffhanger, which is also part of that sensation line.
Right.
It's just a little 4.5 inch little finesse worm, drop shot style bait. And we're on the opens, a lot of the fishing gets real tough. We're usually at lakes at tough times, so I always have a drop shot or a little Texas rig drop shot worm on the boat, and that's kind of been my new go-to worm. So those three have they've accounted for a lot of fish. And then of course, you know, if I'm flipping a fighting frog or something like that, it's always a player. But I feel like everybody says that, so I'm gonna stay away from that.
Well, it's just a good bait, I guess. Well, anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you in March, man. And I hope everything goes well, and you and all your family have a nice Christmas. And can't wait to see you here before long. And take care, and thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys as well. We'll get together. I'll let you know when I'm down there, and we'll go.
Sounds good.
We'll go out to eat or something.
All right,
Absolutely,
sounds good
man.
to me.
Appreciate
All right,
you
buddy,
jumping on. Take care. Have a good one.
Yep, we'll see you guys.
See you, man.